Hello, my name is Becky. 8 years ago, my dreams came true. I was accepted to Harvard. I'd always known I wanted to work with computers. Something about information science just called to me, like it was written into my DNA. But everything changed at the second-year mixer. I spotted him across the room. He looked shy, like he wanted to bolt, but couldn't quite move his feet. Frozen in place, eyes scanning the crowd. That's when my roommate Ava squealed, "Tyler," and grabbed my arm. "Becky, you have to meet Tyler," she said, dragging me toward him. Apparently, he was her boyfriend's roommate. It was his second year too. Last year, he'd been all study and no parties, loyal to a girlfriend back home. But they'd broken up over the summer, and suddenly, he was here. And we had a lot in common. We made small talk, awkward at first. But with a little nudging, he asked me out. He took me to a bar that hosted trivia nights. I thought it would be a disaster. I'm terrible at pop culture. But then came the bonus round, Dungeons and Dragons and anime. We crushed it. Turns out we both played D&D and watched the same shows. We didn't win because we knew the capital of Burkina Faso. We won because we both knew the name of Inuyasha's sword and the difference between a rogue and a ranger. That night, something clicked. Not just over trivia, but over shared passions, quiet glances, and the feeling that maybe, just maybe, this was the start of something real. After trivia night, Tyler and I were inseparable. Not in the clingy, text every 5 minutes kind of way, but in the quiet, magnetic way where you just know someone gets you. We started studying together, swapping notes and snacks, and occasionally arguing over which anime protagonist had the most tragic backstory. Spoiler, I still say it's Hamura from Madoka Magica. Tyler disagrees. Loudly. One Friday, he showed up at my dorm with a pizza box and a mischievous grin. "I hope you're free tonight," he said. "Because I've got a one-shot D&D campaign ready, and you're the rogue." I blinked. "You wrote a campaign?" He nodded. "Custom built. Just for you." That night, we played until 2 a.m. My rogue flirted with danger, stole a cursed amulet, and accidentally triggered a dungeon collapse. Tyler's NPC wizard sacrificed himself to save my rogue. I remember looking up from my character sheet and seeing something in his eyes, something real. We didn't say anything. We didn't have to. From then on, our story wasn't just about Harvard or computers. It was about late-night pizza runs, shared playlists, and the way he always saved the last slice for me. It was about building something, not just in code, but in connection. But first, let me explain mine and Tyler's families. My dad started his construction company with nothing but a rusted pickup and a stubborn belief that hard work could build anything. Turns out, he was right. He holds the patent on a window trim design that revolutionized energy efficiency in homes. Last year, Forbes listed him as worth over $1 billion. But you wouldn't know it by looking at us. We still live in the same modest house on Maple Street. I worked at the local gas station after school. My monthly allowance was just enough to teach me budgeting, and my parents never let money become a measure of worth. They both grew up poor, my dad in a trailer park, my mom in a cramped apartment above a laundromat. They made a promise early on. No matter how successful they became, their kids would never grow up entitled. And they kept that promise. Our house was full of warmth, laughter, and traditions. There were no nannies or housekeepers. Sunday dinners were sacred. Birthdays meant homemade cake and off-key singing. Every Thanksgiving and Christmas, we volunteer at the shelter before sitting down to eat. My family believed in showing up for each other, for our community, for the people who didn't have much. Tyler's world was different. His family name carried weight, Rockefeller. Old money. Legacy. Their version of tradition was charity galas and society events, where smiles were rehearsed and conversations felt like transactions. They judged people by their bank accounts, their connections, their pedigree. When Tyler met my family, he was stunned. Not by the lack of luxury, but by the abundance of love. He didn't know what to do when my dad hugged him at the door or when my little brother challenged him to a Mario Kart showdown before dinner. He was used to formality. We were all about authenticity. Christmas with my family was chaotic in the best way. Last-minute shopping, frantic gift wrapping, carols around the piano while my mom played with flour-dusted fingers. Tyler joined in laughing, singing, even helping decorate cookies with my little cousins. It felt like magic. But when we asked him to come to the shelter with us on Christmas morning, he hesitated. My mother wouldn't approve, he said quietly. And just like that, he left on the 24th. I didn't say anything. I just smiled and waved goodbye. New Year's was a different world. Tyler invited me to his family's estate, a sprawling mansion with marble floors and chandeliers that looked like they belonged in Versailles. I'd saved up, asked my mom for a little extra, and had my hair and makeup professionally done. My dress was designer, sure, but 3 seasons old. My handbag? A cute impulse buy from a farmer's market. When I stepped out of my room, I felt like a beauty queen. When I stepped into their house, I felt like a charity case. "Oh, how cute, homemade," one girl said, eyeing my clutch like it was a craft project from kindergarten. Another chimed in. "I donate all my dresses at the end of the season." "You keep yours, how thrifty." They laughed. I smiled. My heart sank. Tyler's mother, in her pearls and perfect posture, finally said, "Be nice, girls." To some people, $5,000 is a lot. Like it was pocket change. Like I was a walking reminder of what they weren't. I slipped away to the bathroom and cried. Not because I wasn't enough, but because I almost believed I wasn't. I thought about telling them. About my dad's billion-dollar company. About the patent. About how we choose to live simply. But then I heard my mom's voice in my head. Let them think what they want. You know the truth. When I opened the door, Tyler was waiting. "I'm sorry," he said. "For how they spoke to you. For not standing up. Let's get out of here." And we did. After we left the mansion, Tyler and I drove back to the dorms in silence. Not the awkward kind, just the kind where you're both thinking the same thing and don't need to say it out loud. We changed into jeans and old t-shirts, shedding the weight of formal wear and expectations. We met up with friends in the common room, textbooks scattered, pizza boxes stacked, someone playing classic rock from their laptop. Tyler grabbed a slice and flopped down beside me, his socked feet already tucked under him. "Pineapple on pizza is a crime," he declared. I raised an eyebrow. "You just lost all credibility." We argued for 20 minutes, half serious, half flirting, while someone tried to explain quantum entanglement between bites of pepperoni. It was sweet. We were just two nerds again, wrapped in the comfort of familiarity, far from chandeliers and judgmental glances. But as the semester rolled on, something shifted. Tyler stopped coming to my family events. Always with polite excuses, his mom needed him, his aunt's birthday, a charity brunch he couldn't miss. I understood. Sort of. I wasn't in a rush to return to his world either. But my family kept asking, "Is Tyler coming for Easter? Will he be at Grandma's birthday? Is everything okay?" I'd smile and say he was busy, that he sent his love, that he'd come next time. Then came the moment I couldn't dodge. My little brother, Max, cornered me on a video call. He was 10, missing his front tooth, and holding up a D&D mini he'd painted just for Tyler. "You guys didn't break up, right?" he asked, eyes wide. "Because I made him a dragon knight and everything." I laughed, but it cracked a little. "No, Max. We're still together." "Prove it," he said. "Put him on." So I dragged Tyler into the frame, both of us squished together in front of my laptop. He waved, smiled, and complimented the mini. Max beamed. After the call, Tyler kissed my temple and said, "Your family really loves you." I nodded. "They love you too. Even if you don't show up." He didn't answer. Just held me tighter. Summer break came fast, and with it, Tyler's invitation to his family's 4th of July party. I hesitated. My dad always hosted a block party, burgers on the grill, kids running through sprinklers, sparklers lighting up the night. It was tradition. But my mom pulled me aside. "If you're serious about this boy," she said, "you need to make an effort. Your dad just needs to get used to sharing you." So I said yes. I asked Tyler if my little brother Max could come too. I figured it'd be a family event, hot dogs, lawn chairs, maybe a cornhole tournament. It was the 4th of July, after all. But Tyler looked at me like I'd asked if we could bring a goat. It's not really a kid-friendly event, he said. That confused me. Should I wear a ball gown? I joked. He didn't laugh. It's casual, he said. But maybe pack one for the evening. I blinked. You mean actually pack a ball gown? He nodded, sheepish. I showed up in Levi's and an Ozzy Osbourne t-shirt, thinking I'd nailed the laid-back vibe. Tyler's sister met me at the door, her eyes wide with horror. Oh my God, she gasped. What happened? I looked down at myself. Tyler said it was casual. She didn't respond. Just grabbed my arm and dragged me upstairs. Thank goodness we are the same size, she said as she handed me tailored shorts from a designer I couldn't pronounce and a silk blouse that probably cost more than my laptop. The whole afternoon, her friends whispered and giggled. I kept hearing it, Levi's. Yeah, she was wearing Levi's. Like, actual denim. From a store. Not even custom. I smiled through it. Ate my tiny hors d'oeuvres. Pretended I didn't feel like a museum exhibit. But inside, I missed my dad's block party. I missed Max chasing fireflies. After the 4th of July fiasco, things were tense between me and Tyler. I kept wondering if I could ever truly fit into his world, designer labels, whispered judgments, and parties where casual meant couture. I didn't say it out loud, but the question lingered in every silence between us. Then came Easter. Tyler surprised me by asking if he could spend the holiday with my family. I blinked. You want to come to my folks' Easter? He nodded. I just want to get to know your family. I hesitated. You do realize both sets of grandparents will be there, right? And they're big on settling down. Like, marriage and great-grandchildren kind of big. Tyler blushed. Actually blushed. That's okay, he said. I'm in. So we packed up and headed to my parents' house for a 4-day weekend. From the moment he walked through the door, he was charming. He helped my grandma carry in her casserole dish, complimented my grandpa's suspenders, and even joined the kids in an Easter egg hunt, though he got way too competitive and ended up with glitter in his hair. My mom beamed. My dad gave him the "you hurt her, I bury you" handshake. My little brother Max declared Tyler his official dungeon master. And my grandpa, after 3 slices of pie, leaned back and said, well, he's a keeper. And for the first time, I stopped wondering if I could fit into his world. Because maybe, just maybe, he was trying to fit into mine. Tyler asked me to join his family for Thanksgiving. He was gentle but firm. Please dress formally. I just don't want a repeat of the 4th of July. I nodded, trying not to flinch. My family's not like yours, he said. We have an image. Tradition. Ted Cruz is attending dinner, and there's a charity event afterward. Then, almost shyly, he added, do you own more than 2 dresses? Maybe something new. He rushed to soften it. I can buy you some if you need, I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. I'll come dressed appropriately. That night, after he left, I called my mom in tears. I told her everything, how I thought I loved Tyler, how I just wanted his family to accept me. She didn't agree. They should accept you as you are, she said. But then she sighed and gave me her credit card. Buy 3 new dresses. And 5 outfits. Just be comfortable. That weekend, my best friend and I drove to Rodeo Drive. We tried on gowns that shimmered like starlight, blouses that felt like silk clouds. For once, I wasn't the outsider. I was welcomed, styled, transformed. Thanksgiving came. I arrived polished, poised, and prepared. I had done everything right. 3 new dresses. 5 outfits. Hair and makeup professionally done. Me and Ava spent the weekend combing Rodeo Drive, trying on clothes that felt more like costumes than comfort. But I was determined. I wanted to belong, or at least not stand out for the wrong reasons. Thanksgiving arrived, and I stepped into Tyler's family home looking polished, poised, and prepared. No one commented on my outfit this time. No whispers. No giggles. Just nods and polite smiles. But as I passed through the hallway toward the powder room, I overheard voices drifting from the sitting room. His sister's voice, unmistakable. She's really trying this time. Then his mother, glass of wine in hand, replied with a dry chuckle, well, at least she's not embarrassing us this time. I froze. They didn't know I was there. I wasn't meant to hear it. But I did. I slipped into the bathroom, locked the door, and let the tears come. Not because I hadn't tried hard enough, but because I had. I had bent myself into shapes I didn't recognize, all for a seat at a table that still felt miles away. And this time, Tyler wasn't waiting outside. He was off talking with his father's friends, laughing, blending in. I was alone. He found me later. I was leaning against the stone railing of the back terrace, arms folded, eyes locked on the dark horizon. The laughter inside was muffled now, distant. "You disappeared," he said, stepping beside me. "I needed air," I replied. "Your mom said I wasn't embarrassing you this time." Tyler sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "She didn't mean it like that. She meant it exactly like that." He looked at her, brow furrowed. "It's complicated, Becky. You'll understand once you've adapted more." "Adapted?" My voice cracked. "You mean once I stop being myself?" "No," he said quickly. "I mean once you learn how things work. My mom means well. She grew up in this world. It's different." I stared at him, searching for something in his face. "Do you even hear yourself?" Tyler didn't answer. He just looked away. Later that night, Ava sat cross-legged on her bed, her silk pajamas a sharp contrast to the mess of books and half-packed boxes around her. I was curled up in the armchair, still wearing the dress I had picked out so carefully. "He said I'll understand once I adapt," I whispered. Ava rolled her eyes. "Classic rich kid conditioning," Ava said, pouring more wine. "His world teaches them how to bend without breaking, how to smile when they're bleeding inside. It's all about appearances, never vulnerability. You don't grow up learning how to feel, you grow up learning how to perform." I hesitated. "But I love him." Ava's voice softened. "Then give him a choice. But don't wait around while he makes it." It was late, the kind of quiet that only comes when the world's asleep and your thoughts are loud. Tyler and I sat on the edge of his dorm bed, the glow of his desk lamp casting soft shadows across the room. "I need to say something," I began, fingers twisting the hem of my sleeve. "I feel uncomfortable around your family. Like I'm being watched. Judged. Like I'm a guest in a museum exhibit labeled outsider." Tyler didn't interrupt. He just listened. "I try so hard to fit in," I continued. "I wear the right clothes, say the right things, smile when I want to scream. And still, I feel like I'm failing some test I didn't even know I was taking." He reached for my hand gently. "Becky, I love you. I don't care about the clothes or the parties or the way my family acts. I only want to be with you. No matter what." I looked at him, searching for doubt. There was none. "I know my world is complicated," he said. "But I'll give you all the time you need. You don't have to change for them. You don't have to change for me." And in that moment, I saw it, real love. Real respect. Not the kind that's spoken at charity dinners, but the kind that shows up in quiet rooms and trembling voices. The next year was ours. Tyler attended the events he had to, family obligations, legacy dinners, the occasional fundraiser, but he never asked me to come. Not once. Instead, he showed up at my family's cookouts, helped my grandma fix her porch light, and played D&D with Max. We studied together, cooked together, dreamed together. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. Graduation came like a sunrise, bright, fast, and impossible to ignore. My parents showed up big. My dad rented a limo, my mom wore a custom dress she'd designed herself, and Max held a handmade sign that read, "Becky the Brain." They were proud. Loudly, unapologetically proud. Tyler's family came too. Someone had looked up my family and unearthed an old newspaper article from when I was in grade school. The headline read, "Millionaire Leads Quiet Life with Family." It was about Dad's construction company, 5,000 employees, projects across 3 states, the kind of success that hums quietly, never needing to shout. That one article changed everything. Suddenly, people assumed we had money. And we did. But not the kind that came with legacy or invitations. We were labeled new money, comfortable, visible, but lacking pedigree. Flashy maybe, but never quite enough. I overheard one of his aunts say, "Well, it's sweet they're so excited. It's just graduation." Tyler didn't laugh, instead he whispered, "I don't care what they think. He was off to Harvard Law next. I didn't know what the future would hold, but I knew this. I wasn't shrinking anymore. I was standing tall. And Tyler, he was standing beside me. The next year felt like a breath of fresh air. I landed an internship in New York City with a rising tech firm specializing in cybersecurity and data architecture. It was everything I dreamed of: long hours, fast-paced projects, and the thrill of solving problems that actually mattered. I worked alongside brilliant minds, building systems that protected sensitive information and streamlined digital infrastructure for nonprofits and startups alike. Every day was a challenge. Every night, I collapsed into bed with a brain buzzing from code and caffeine. But I loved it. I was finally doing what I'd always wanted, working with computers, making a difference, and proving to myself that I belonged in this world. Ava took a teaching position in Harlem, working with middle schoolers who tested her patience and stole her heart in equal measure. She taught literature and art, and every week she'd come over with stories about the boy who wrote a poem that made her cry, or the girl who painted a mural of her grandmother's garden. We were both building something real. Tyler was at Harvard, buried in case law and mock trials. We kept in touch: video calls, texts, long emails that read like love letters. The distance was hard, but it gave us space. Space to grow, to breathe, to become ourselves outside of each other. Tyler never pushed. He never asked me to attend events or change who I was. He just showed up when he could, how he could. And when he did, it was just us. No expectations. No performance. Just love. The next year passed in a flash. My internship in New York turned into a full-time job, an offer I accepted without hesitation. I was officially a systems analyst, working on cybersecurity protocols and data infrastructure for a firm that specialized in nonprofit tech solutions. It was demanding, exhilarating, and exactly what I'd always wanted. I was finally building something of my own. Tyler was busier than ever at Harvard Law. His days were packed with lectures, moot court, study groups, and networking events. We didn't talk every day, but when we did, it mattered. Long calls late at night, texts that made me laugh in the middle of a stressful meeting, and the occasional weekend visit that felt like a breath of fresh air. The distance was hard, but strangely, it helped. I stopped thinking about his family. The sting of their comments, the pressure to perform, it all faded into the background. I was too busy living my life, chasing deadlines, grabbing coffee with Ava, and finding joy in the little things. Tyler never pushed me to attend his family's events, and I never asked him to explain them anymore. We had our own rhythm now. Ava was thriving in Harlem. Her classroom was chaotic and beautiful, filled with kids who challenged her and inspired her. She'd come over on Friday nights with paint on her hands and stories that made me laugh until I cried. We were both carving out lives that felt real, grounded, and ours. Tyler and I were still together, still in love, but we were no longer tangled in each other's worlds. We were building our own, side by side. Graduation was supposed to be a celebration, but this wasn't just a party. It was a Rockefeller event. Held at an exclusive private club in Manhattan, the guest list read like a political who's who: senators, CEOs, the mayor of New York. The daughters of dignitaries and hedge fund managers floated through the room like fashion influencers on parade, draped in couture, dripping in curated charm. Speeches began. One after another, voices echoed through the hall, praising Ed Rockefeller's legacy, marveling at Tyler's achievements, and gushing over how his younger sister Violet must surely look up to her brilliant brother. Tyler had insisted my parents come, and they did, dressed to the nines, proud and radiant. My dad wore a tailored suit that made him look like he belonged on the cover of Forbes, and my mom wore a Chanel dress so effortlessly, she looked like she'd stepped off the pages of a fashion magazine. Not loud, not flashy, just timeless. The kind of beauty that made people pause, wondering if she was someone famous, or just someone unforgettable. Max even wore a bow tie, though he kept tugging at it like it was trying to strangle him. I stood beside my parents, smiling politely, feeling like a footnote in someone else's story. Then Tyler took the stage. He started with the expected, thanking professors, mentors, and especially his mother, Daisy Rockefeller, for her unwavering support. Her smile was tight, polished, practiced. But then he paused, looked directly at me. And to Becky, he said, who pushed me when I wanted to coast, who challenged my thinking, questioned my assumptions, and reminded me that excellence isn't inherited, it's earned. She kept me grounded, focused, and accountable. If it weren't for her, I might not have made it through. Gasps rippled through the crowd. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a Cartier ring box, sleek, black, and unmistakably expensive. He stepped forward, eyes locked on mine, and began to drop to one knee. Then Violet laughed. Loud, sharp, cruel. You're kidding, right? The room froze. Heads turned. Whispers bloomed like wildfire. Daisy hissed, "Hush, Violet. A proposal isn't a marriage." I looked back at Tyler. He was no longer kneeling, just standing, the ring box now half hidden as he slipped it into his pocket, the gesture so quiet it might have gone unnoticed, except I saw it. And then his father stood, raising a glass. To Harvard Law, he declared, for educating yet another generation of Rockefellers. Applause followed, crisp and rehearsed. The moment, whatever it had been, folded into the evening like it had never happened. The rest of the night unfolded like nothing had happened. No one mentioned the ring. Tyler was seen in a hushed conversation with his family, but his sister and parents never spoke to me or my parents for the rest of the night. Eventually, I made my way to him. My parents had left earlier, Max was tired, and I just wanted to go home. Tyler said the right things. "Are you sure you can't stay?" he asked, with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. But he looked relieved. There was no late-night call. No text. 5 days passed. On the 5th, his number was no longer in service. After 5 years, I had been ghosted. When I heard that robotic voice, "The number you have dialed is no longer in service," I called in and asked for sick days. I couldn't pretend to be fine. Then, on Saturday, an unknown number lit up my phone. I almost didn't answer. But it was Tyler. He was crying. He begged me to meet him. I said yes, thinking something terrible must have happened. We met at a little bistro just off Little Italy. The kind of place with flickering candles, chipped wine glasses, and a menu that hadn't changed in a decade. It should have felt romantic. It didn't. Tyler looked tired. Hollow-eyed. He barely touched his espresso. "I was going to ask you to marry me," he said. I nodded. I figured. He looked down. But my parents didn't approve. Said I couldn't marry a carpenter's daughter. Not even one with money. I didn't flinch. I'd heard worse. He went on, voice cracking. "This last week was hell. I wasn't myself. I couldn't study. I was just a mess." Finally, some of the senior partners spoke to my father. "It's settled. I can marry you." He didn't ask. He informed. It hurt. "So just like that," I said, sarcasm sharp. "It's settled." He nodded, missing the tone completely. "If you'd like, I thought June would be a good month. Of course, my mom and Violet will need a year to plan." I stood up. He blinked. "Bex, what's the matter?" I fixed it. That broke me. "I didn't need fixing," I whispered. I turned and walked toward the door, tears already blurring the candlelight. Behind me, the maitre d' stopped Tyler with the bill. I didn't wait. I didn't look back. I drove straight to Ava's. She opened the door in sweatpants and a messy bun, and before I could say a word, I collapsed into her arms, ugly crying like I hadn't in years. She didn't ask. She didn't speak. She just held me. Ava didn't say much when she opened the door. Just pulled me into a hug and led me to the couch like she'd been expecting me all night. She poured the wine without asking. I started talking. The ring. His sister's laughter. His dad's toast. The week of silence. How he never asked, just started planning. She stayed quiet, except for the occasional, those jerks, and he did what? Her outrage was perfectly timed, like punctuation to my unraveling. And somehow my glass never emptied. By the end of it, I was slumped against her throw pillows, mascara smudged, and heart cracked wide open. She looked at me and said, "You're staying here tonight." And we need Dolly. She queued up 9 to 5, and we sang like we were auditioning for a Broadway show. Then came First Wives Club. By the time Diane Keaton was dancing in white, I was drunk and laughing, and for a few glorious hours, I almost forgot about Tyler. The next morning, I woke up with a hangover that felt like a personal vendetta. Ava, ever the saint of post-party survival, handed me a plate of greasy bacon and eggs and swore, "The grease is the cure." I didn't argue. I just ate. While I tried to keep my stomach from staging a rebellion, my phone lit up like a Christmas tree. Tyler was calling. Texting. "What happened? Why did you leave? What do you think about June? Do you want a long engagement?" He didn't care about the details. He just wanted me. I didn't answer. Then, while I was in the shower, he called again, and Ava picked up. I heard her voice through the steam, sharp and protective. "She deserves a real proposal, Tyler. Not a plan. Not an assumption. You don't just decide, you ask." He didn't respond. Later, I got a text, "Sorry. I just thought we were on the same page." I didn't reply. I drove to my parents' house, needing comfort that smelled like cinnamon and sounded like Max's voice cracking mid-sentence. Max, now 14 and full of righteous fury, declared, "Tyler's no good." My dad just nodded. He's not wrong. My mom didn't say much. She made pasta and banana bread and let me mope for 2 days straight. Then, on the third night, she sat beside me on the couch and asked, "What do you want?" I stared at the ceiling. I love Tyler, but she cut me off. "There are no buts in love. You just need to talk to him." That night, Tyler showed up. He stood outside my parents' house with cue cards, just like Love Actually. Ava must have told him. "I'm sorry. I should have asked. You're not a decision. You're a choice." My choice. I opened the door before he got to the last card. I was already crying. He didn't say anything. Just held out the final card, "Will you marry me?" I said yes. My dad and Max were polite but cautious when Tyler came by. Max, full of righteous fire, gave a little speech. "If you hurt her, I'll find you," and if Tyler thought about laughing it off, my dad's silent nod of agreement made him promise. Back in New York, I returned to work after a week off. I'd been slacking the last few days and owed a few favors. Tyler was buried in bar exam prep. The next month blurred by, coffee-fueled mornings, late-night study sessions, and quiet dinners where we didn't talk about the wedding. We'd agreed I could take my time. I hadn't picked a date, but I knew one thing for sure. Ava was going to be my maid of honor. Then, about a month later, I got an email. An invite to a bridal fitting at a boutique I'd never heard of. It was formal, glossy, and oddly impersonal. I brought it up over dinner, half laughing. "Is this some kind of scam?" Tyler didn't laugh. He looked serious. "It's from my mom. She narrowed it down to 5 dresses. You need to pick one. Violet will be there too, for her maid of honor dress." I blinked. "Wait, Violet? Ava's my maid of honor." He sighed, like I was being difficult. "She's just trying to help." There were concerns about the aesthetics. I set down my fork. "Aesthetics? You wouldn't want Ava to stand out too much," he said. "She'd clearly draw attention." I stared at him. "Are you for real?" "She's got that tan," he said, almost offhand. "You don't want people talking about it. It's your day." I froze. Tyler had known Ava for years. She'd been at our study nights, our trivia games, our road trips. He knew her parents were from Costa Rica. He knew she was born in New Mexico. He'd never said anything like this before. And now, suddenly, her skin was a problem. "I won't be attending," I said quietly. I wasn't asked. "I have a meeting tomorrow I can't miss. And if anyone is concerned about Ava's skin color, they're not invited." I stood up, grabbed my coat, and left. That night, we had the biggest fight we'd ever had. Tyler said his sister would be hurt to be demoted. I said she was never asked, so she couldn't be demoted. He talked about tradition and responsibilities. I said I didn't care, it was my wedding. That's when he said, "It's not your wedding. It's our wedding." I stared at him. "Fine. She can be your best person. But Ava is my maid of honor." We never came to an agreement. I just went home. I didn't tell Ava. I was too embarrassed to admit our biggest fight was about her skin. The next morning, I was sitting in my office when my phone rang. Violet. She apologized with a sweetness so polished it felt rehearsed. We just wanted to help, she said. I thought you'd want your photos to look nice. But if you want Ava, then she's your maid of honor. The implication was clear. Ava would stand out. Ruin the aesthetic. But I took the win and thanked her. Then Daisy called. She was rescheduling the dress fitting. What day works for you? I thanked her, said I wasn't ready yet. That Ava and I would look into it later, and I'd be sure to invite her and Violet. She was stunned. But we've always used Saks on Fifth Avenue. I smiled, even though she couldn't see it. I'll keep that in mind. I'm needed in a meeting, gotta go. And I hung up. When I got home from work, Tyler was waiting for me. He was pacing, tense, and the moment I stepped through the door, he launched into it. How could you say those things to my mom? He snapped. She called me crying. You told her you didn't need her opinion, that she wasn't allowed to help with the wedding. You said her stupid old-fashioned ways weren't welcome, then laughed and hung up on her. I blinked. Tyler, she called you back 3 times before you finally answered and told her to get the message and leave you alone. You had a meeting. I was stunned. That's not what happened. He wouldn't listen. His voice got louder, angrier. We were yelling now, standing in my kitchen, words flying like knives. Then my phone buzzed. A text from the IT department at work. We had a major client. Privacy was everything. Every call to my office line was recorded and logged. Today, 2 personal calls had been flagged. The system was purging them, but the tech was sending me copies first. I opened the files. Tyler was still ranting. My mother wouldn't say it if it wasn't true. I pressed play. The recording filled the room. Daisy's voice was calm, clipped, and nothing like the version Tyler had described. No crying. No accusations. Just a polite, passive-aggressive conversation that ended with her saying, "But we've always used Saks on Fifth Avenue." Tyler froze. You recorded her? He asked. No, I said. All calls to my office are recorded. That's why I always tell you to call my cell. He didn't respond. Just grabbed his coat, slammed the door, and left. I stared at the screen. Then I saved both recordings in a new folder. I named it the Rockefellers. I didn't know why, but I had a feeling I'd need it. The silence lasted a week. No calls. No texts. No doorsteps. And strangely, I wasn't sad. It felt peaceful. Like I could finally hear myself think. Just when I started to wonder if maybe this was for the best, a dozen red roses arrived at my office. The card read, "Sorry. Let's not let our families mess us up. Please meet me for dinner tonight at 11 Madison Park. 8 p.m., I smiled. Texted back, yes. I'd love to see you. That night, over candlelight, Tyler apologized. He said his mom had a flair for the dramatics. That he'd been caught in the middle. That he should have listened. He promised to always believe me. And just like that, we found our way back. It felt like our first years again, little texts between meetings, late-night calls, inside jokes, and whispered dreams. We talked about the future. Our house. Our kids. I told him I wanted to wait. I wanted to work for a few more years. That even though my mom was the best, I never wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. He would pause. But he always agreed. It was one of those lazy Saturdays, me and Ava curled up on the sofa, bridal magazines open, Pinterest boards overflowing with lace and wildflowers. We were laughing about cake flavors when my phone buzzed. An email. Subject line, save the date, August 22nd, I opened it. It was for my wedding. I blinked. August 22nd. A Saturday. Also, Max's 16th birthday. I called Tyler. He answered casually. It's not a big deal. Friar's Head, my dad's club, had an opening. We can move your brother's birthday, can't we? I paused. We celebrate it every year. He replied, well, it's not like it'll matter in the future. I hung up. Then I called his mother. I told her I hadn't picked a date yet. That I wouldn't be getting married on my brother's birthday. And I hung up. She called my mom, clearly expecting backup. But my mom shot back. I thought it would be nice if they got married in the family church, the one Becky and Max were baptized in. I spoke to Father Tumbeck. He's willing to do it. That did it. Daisy exploded. Her son was not going to be married by a Catholic priest. She'd already arranged for Baptist pastors. The yelling started. And finally, my mom said, calm and firm, "Look, this is their wedding. We really have no right to be making any plans." Daisy hung up. That night, Tyler called. No greeting. Just one word, Catholic. I blinked. "What are you talking about?" He snapped, "Your mom planned a Catholic wedding for us. Did you really think I'd agree to that?" I was stunned. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, I'm Catholic. And yeah, maybe my mom assumed. But all I knew was your mom wanted me to get married on my brother's birthday, and that's not happening." He sighed, like I was being difficult. "It's just a day. It's not like you're going to spend every birthday with him after we're married, right?" I stared at the phone. "Yes, I would." He paused. "You'd choose your brother over our anniversaries?" I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just said no. That's why I'm not getting married on August 22nd. And I hung up. I spent the next few days in a fog. Not sad. Not angry. Just tired. The wedding had stopped feeling like a celebration and started feeling like a negotiation. Between families. Between expectations. Between versions of me I didn't recognize. One night, I was curled up on Ava's couch, staring at a half-eaten container of pad thai, when I finally said it out loud. "I don't know if I even want to do this anymore." Ava didn't flinch. She just took a sip of wine and said, "Becky, wedding planning is basically a slow-motion identity crisis. You're not broken. You're just overwhelmed." I laughed, but it came out shaky. She leaned forward. "You don't have to cancel anything. You just have to take it back. Your date. Your dress. Your venue. Your voice." I blinked. "You think I can?" She grinned. "I know you can. And I'm your maid of honor, so I'm legally obligated to help you burn down any part of this process that doesn't feel like you." Ava and I were in full planning mode. Dress fittings were booked. Color palettes narrowed down to dusty rose and champagne blush, which, according to Ava, were not the same thing. We had a spreadsheet of potential dates: June 28th, Violet's birthday, which I pretended not to notice, and every Saturday in July. It felt good. Like building something that was mine. Then Tyler saw the list. "I can't do this," he said, pacing the living room like he was preparing for a deposition. "It's not fair. I wanted Central Park. The Ladies' Pavilion, Copcot, Wagner Cove, Bethesda Terrace. They're all lovely." I blinked. "You say that like I suggested we get married in a swamp." He looked horrified. "You basically did." Eventually, we landed on July 25th. It was a compromise. But then came the kicker. I need to get my mother's approval. An outdoor wedding is so common. I laughed. "We could just go to Vegas and have Elvis marry us." He froze. "That's terrible. Can you imagine the headline? Rockefeller marries in Vegas by Elvis." I raised an eyebrow. "What headline?" "It's just a wedding." He sighed, exasperated. "You don't get it. You're about to become a Rockefeller. Everything we do winds up in the society pages." "Oh," I said weakly. "You must be exaggerating." "When are you going to get it?" he snapped. That weekend, we agreed on the Ladies' Pavilion. Same place Paige Howard, Ron Howard's daughter, got married. Tyler's dad said they'd invite Paige, her husband Timmy Abu Nasser, and Ron himself. He said it so matter-of-factly, like he was ordering catering. And I believed him. Of course I did. It was early on a Sunday morning when I slipped away from the noise. No calls. No emails. No wedding spreadsheets. Just me, a coffee in hand, and a walk through Central Park. The Ladies' Pavilion stood quietly at the edge of the lake, its wrought iron frame catching the soft light like lace. Tourists passed by without noticing it. A jogger paused to tie her shoe. A couple took selfies near the water. But for a few minutes, it felt like mine. I stepped inside. The air was still. The city hummed in the distance, but here, it was just birdsong and the rustle of leaves. I closed my eyes and imagined it, Ava standing beside me, Max straightening his tie, my mom dabbing her eyes with a tissue she swore she wouldn't need. I imagined laughter. Real laughter. Not polite society chuckles, but the kind that comes from inside jokes and shared history. I imagined walking down the path in a dress I chose, not one selected from a curated list of acceptable options. I imagined saying vows that weren't rehearsed for headlines. And for the first time in weeks, I felt something I hadn't felt since the roses arrived at my office. Peace. I wanted to talk about the feeling of the day. Simple. Understated. A ceremony that felt like us, not a performance, not a production. But before I could finish the sentence, Tyler cut me off. You need to call my mom about your dress, he said. Before she just picks one for you. I blinked. Wait, what? He laughed like I was being naive. It's going to feel like pressure, but we'll make it through. I opened my mouth to respond, but he was already handing me his phone. She's on the line, he said, like it was nothing. Just talk to her. I hesitated, then took it. Hello. Becky, hi, Daisy said, clipped and brisk. No warmth. Just business. Your dress fitting is Thursday at 11. Boutique's on 5th. Don't be late. Okay, I said, thrown. I hadn't picked a dress yet. I did, she replied. It's elegant. Appropriate. Ava's dress is coordinated, black with gold trim. We didn't want her to stand out too much. I blinked. Black? At a wedding? She didn't respond. Just kept going. Violet and I chose the cake, black and white with gold accents. 6 layers, each a different flavor. I tried to interject. My uncle has a peanut allergy. He has an EpiPen, doesn't he? She said, breezing past it. Anyway, it's classic. I swallowed. I was thinking chrysanthemums for the flowers. She actually gasped. Chrysanthemums? Oh no. I've already ordered peonies. Much more refined. Honestly, if you thought chrysanthemums were appropriate, it's clear you need help. I was hoping Tyler and I could go cake tasting next month, I said, trying to hold my ground. And I really wanted to choose my own dress. There was a pause. Then a short, condescending laugh. Tyler doesn't have time to eat cake, Becky. We have a standard to maintain. And someone who picks chrysanthemums for a wedding clearly doesn't know what the right dress looks like. Trust me, I know these things. I opened my mouth to push back, but Daisy kept going. Anyway, I'll see you Thursday. Don't forget the time. And just like that, she hung up. I stood there, still holding the phone, the silence pressing in. Tyler was already scrolling through something on his laptop, like the conversation hadn't even happened. I wanted to talk about the feeling of the day. Instead, I was being fitted into someone else's version of it. The next morning, I called the bakery. I just wanted to make sure they knew about my uncle's nut allergy. But the woman on the phone was firm. I'm sorry, ma'am. We've been instructed not to accept changes from anyone but Mrs. Rockefeller. I hung up stunned. I wasn't even allowed to protect my own family. I went straight to Tyler's office. His secretary smiled politely and led me back. He looked up from his desk and said, "Good timing. I was going to bring these home tonight." He handed me a thick stack of papers. "You need to sign these." I glanced down. A title transfer for my apartment. A prenup the size of a textbook. I was hoping we could talk a bit, I said quietly. He didn't look up. Just nodded. Sure. What's up? He handed me a pen. I set it down. That made him look at me. I started to speak about the wedding, about how it didn't feel like mine anymore. About Ava's dress. About the cake. About the baker refusing to speak to me. Tears slid down my cheeks before I could stop them. Tyler stood, came around the desk, and put an arm around me. Comforting, but not listening. Mother knows about these things, he said. Just leave it be. Then he placed the pen in my hand again. I looked at him, then set it down. His jaw tightened. Look, he said. You need to sign these. I picked up the top page. What's this? Tax purposes, he shrugged. I stared at the stack. I'll have my dad's lawyer look over them. He snapped. What, you don't trust me? I am a lawyer. I blinked. Yes, but I think it would be better. He stared at me like I was a stranger. I don't even know who you are right now. And he walked out. I took the papers to my dad's lawyer. He flipped through them slowly, then looked up at me with a face I'd never seen on him before, tight-lipped, protective, furious. There's no reason for him to own your apartment, he said. And this prenup? It's not a contract. It's a leash. I leaned in. You're not allowed to hold a full-time job. You're required to take the family name. All your accounts, including your trust fund, would be transferred to him. Any inheritance you receive would go directly to him. I felt sick. And if you divorce, he continued, even in a case of infidelity you get nothing. There's also a non-disclosure clause. You'd be legally barred from ever speaking about the family to publishers or reporters. I sat there stunned. This wasn't a partnership. It was a takeover. That night, I poured 2 glasses of red and sat across from Ava at my kitchen table. The city lights flickered through the window, but all I could see was the mess of my own wedding unraveling. I hate the colors, I said, finally. I hate the way they make you feel like you're ruining the aesthetic just by being yourself. I don't even know what the cake looks like. And my uncle, he could die if they don't listen. Ava's eyes widened. Wait, they didn't tell the baker? I shook my head. Tyler won't even talk about it. He's different lately. Cold. Distant. Like I'm just a checkbox on a spreadsheet. Then I told her everything. The title transfer. The prenup. The way he placed the pen in my hand like signing was a done deal. Ava was horrified. Becky, this isn't love. This is control. You need to stand your ground. We stayed up late, planning. The next morning, I called my lawyer. We drafted a new prenup, one that honored both of us, not just him. Everything we brought into the marriage stays ours. Finances remain separate, his salary, my trust fund. If infidelity is the cause of the divorce, everything splits 50-50ths. No hidden clauses. No silencing NDAs. I asked my lawyer to send it directly to Tyler. I didn't want to be the messenger anymore. Next, Ava and I made a plan to confront Daisy. This is your day, she said, gripping my hand. Not her event. I made the reservation myself. Minetta Tavern. Just me, Tyler, Daisy, and Violet. I wanted a quiet dinner. A conversation. A chance to say, this is my wedding. Not your production. I had a plan, nut-free cake. Pinks, not black. Ava and I would pick our own dresses. And if Tyler didn't want to help plan it, fine. But I wasn't going to be erased. But when we arrived, the table was already full. His father was there. And so were 2 thick envelopes, one from me, one from Tyler. Both prenups. I sat down slowly. Violet glanced at Ava and said, "What's she doing here?" I didn't respond. Tyler did. "Have you lost your mind?" he said, pointing to the prenup I'd had my lawyer draft. "What is this?" I looked at him calmly. "I think it explains itself. Want to tell me why you wanted my trust fund and my apartment?" His father leaned in, voice low and sharp. "Look, little girl. This isn't how we do things. If you're going to be part of this family, you need to prove loyalty. Sign this. Now." He slid the papers toward me. A pen on top. "I will not," I said. Then I turned to Daisy. "I'm picking out my own dress. This is a wedding, not a funeral. There will be no black." Violet snorted. "You mean except Ava?" I turned to her. "Excuse me? What does that mean?" Tyler cut in, loud enough to turn heads. "This needs to stop. Right now." He noticed the attention, composed himself, and said, "Just sign the papers, please. Enough with the display of independence. We're all trying to please you, but you don't seem to be grateful." I looked at Ava. She nodded. I took off my ring, placed it gently on the plate in front of me, and stood. As I walked away, I heard Daisy hiss, "Sit down, Tyler. Do not make any more of a scene." That night, Ava and I skipped the wine. We found a little martini bar tucked between 2 brownstones, dimly lit and just loud enough to drown out our thoughts. We had too many. We talked about freedom, about how I'd finally broken loose, about how it felt to breathe again. An hour in, my phone started buzzing. Tyler. His mom. Threats of lawsuits if I didn't go through with the wedding. Tyler accusing me of overreacting, of seeking attention. I silenced my phone. Around midnight, he showed up. Drunk. Yelling. "This will be a scandal," he shouted. "My family will be embarrassed." I stood up calmly. "Tyler, please. Sit down. You're making a scene." He wouldn't. I pulled out a chair. "Please. Just sit." He threw it. Across the bar. It didn't hit anyone, thank God. But the bouncer didn't hesitate. Tyler was escorted out, still shouting. Ava and I ordered 2 more drinks. When the server came back, I asked, "Do you know who that was?" She shook her head. Ava pulled out her phone. "That's Tyler Rockefeller." The server blinked. "You mean like, the rich snobs?" I laughed. "Yeah, the ones from the society pages." She laughed too. "Well, I guess he's in the crime section now." She brought us our drinks. The next morning, I woke up to a text from Ava. A photo of the front page. Rockefeller Air gets drunk and tears up bar. I laughed. Out loud. For real. Then I called work. Requested a 6-month leave of absence. No explanation. Just space. I started packing. And by noon, I was on my way to my parents' house. Back at my parents' house, Dad wanted to talk immediately. His old lawyer friend had called. Said he couldn't legally say much, but that I might need emotional support. I told Dad I wanted to talk to everyone. That night we sat around the dinner table, me, Mom, Dad, and Max. I'd asked for this. I needed to say everything out loud, all at once, to the people who knew me best. I took a breath and started. The wedding's off. Mom's fork paused midair. Dad leaned back in his chair. Max didn't look up from his phone. Daisy threatened to sue me, I said. Not for anything I did, just for not marrying Tyler. Dad snorted. See, for not marrying her son? That's rich. Mom frowned. I think she means the money she spent. I nodded. There's more. I told them about the prenup. The title transfer. The clause that said I couldn't work full-time. That all my accounts, my trust fund, and any future inheritance would be transferred to Tyler. And if he cheated? I'd get nothing. Dad's face darkened. That's not a prenup. That's a power grab. Then I told them about the wedding planning. How I wasn't allowed to choose my own dress. How Ava's dress was black with gold trim, chosen to make her blend in. How Daisy said she didn't want Ava to stand out too much. Mom's eyes widened. She said that. I nodded. She never said the word. But it was about her skin. About how she'd look in the photos. I paused. And when I said there would be no black at the wedding, Violet laughed. Dad looked up. Laughed. Like it was funny, I said. Then she said, except Ava. The room went still. Max finally looked up. That's disgusting. I went on. I hadn't tasted the cake. The flowers I hadn't picked. The baker who wouldn't speak to me. Tyler, who stopped listening. Who handed me a pen like I was signing away my life was nothing. Then I told them about the martini bar. The chair. The headline. Dad looked up. Did you have anything to do with the newspaper? I shook my head. I might have told the waitress who he was. But that's it. He nodded. I'll call Larry. Max was scrolling again. Not the paper, he said. A YouTuber I follow is doing a story on entitled trust fund kids. Thumbnails Tyler. Mid-chair toss. I laughed. Mom poured more wine. Dad picked up his phone. And for the first time in weeks, I felt like I was home. Over the next year, Larry investigated it right away. Turns out the bar had cameras, and the owner claimed he recognized Tyler from a tabloid. He sold the footage to whoever would pay. That chair toss was never my doing, but the Rockefellers didn't care. They tried to sue me for slander, for the cost of the wedding, for emotional distress. Larry just shook his head. They don't have a case. Then Tyler reached out. A text. He wanted me to go on Fox News and say it was fake. That never happened. He promised if I did, his mother would drop the lawsuit. I printed the message and handed it to Larry. The suit was dismissed. The baker even gave a statement. He'd been given specific instructions not to allow me to make any changes. They were forced to pay my legal fees. That was the last time I heard from any of them. I sold my apartment. Put in my notice at work. New York had stopped feeling like home. It felt like a stage I'd been shoved onto, with a script I never agreed to. Now I freelance. I still work in information science, just on my own terms. I partner with nonprofits and startups, helping them build systems that protect what matters most. Sometimes it's sensitive data. Sometimes it's the trust of the communities they serve. I've worked alongside brilliant minds, streamlining digital infrastructure, making things cleaner, safer, smarter. And I do it from wherever I want. Ava made big changes too. She's having a baby. She's moving to Boston. Marcus, her fiancé, is from here. We'll be in the same city again. I'm planning her baby shower next week. Lemon cake, sunflowers, and no one telling us what colors are appropriate. Fall came quickly. I moved into a small apartment with real light. I planted herbs on the windowsill. I started sketching again, not for clients, just for me. Winter was quiet. Tyler left one voicemail in December. Said he missed me. Said he'd changed. I didn't respond. Spring brought Elodie, Ava's daughter. She has her mother's eyes and her father's calm. I held her in the hospital and whispered, "You're already more loved than you know." Summer was mine. I went to the beach alone. Read 3 novels. Didn't check my phone once. In August, I met someone, not romantically, just someone who saw me. She runs a tech collective focused on ethical design. She asked me to join. I said yes. And now, 1 year later, I'm not the girl who planned a wedding she wasn't allowed to shape. I'm the woman who walked away. Who chose herself. Who builds systems that protect people. Who learned that sometimes, the most radical thing you can do is say no and mean it. If you've ever found out someone wasn't who you thought they were, if your world flipped and you had to rebuild from the rubble, know this. You're not alone. Your story matters. Your voice counts. And someone out there needs to hear what you've lived through just to believe they can survive it too. So if you're in the middle of it, stay strong. If you've come out the other side, share your story. You never know who you're helping. Drop a comment below. Like and share this video if it spoke to you. And don't forget to subscribe, because healing isn't a moment, it's a movement.